Call the Board of Alderman meeting for Tuesday, May 7th, 2019 to order. The mayor is out of town this evening, so I'm setting in for him. We'll start with the public hearings. Neil, you want to come forward?
Good evening. All right, for tonight's public hearing, we asked for the approval of Section 405.195, the overlay district requirements, and 405.215, standards for medical marijuana facilities, which includes the buffer requirement of 100 feet. I also asked the ordinance of the City of Warren to be made part of the record by reference, the comprehensive plan of the City of Warren to be made part of the record by reference, and finally the package shown as ADM 96 on the agenda be made part of the record by reference.
Thank you. Anyone that would like to speak to Section 405.195 and 405.215, you can come forward to the podium and we'll give you 5 minutes to speak to that particular item. Okay, seeing nobody coming forward, we'll go ahead and go to Section 405.050.
All right, we asked for the approval of Section 405.050, definitions and interpretations to include medical marijuana facilities definitions. I asked that the ordinance of the City of Warren to be made part of the record by reference, the comprehensive plan of the City of Warren to be made part of the record by reference, and package shown as ADM 95 on the agenda to be made part of the record by reference.
Thank you, Neil. Same thing, anyone would like to speak to that particular section, if you come forward, you'll give you 5 minutes to speak. Okay, seeing no one, we'll move on to the third item.
All right, we asked for an amendment to Appendix A to include medical marijuana dispensaries, cultivation, infusion product, and testing facilities. I asked that the ordinance of the City of Warren to be made part of the record by reference, the comprehensive plan of the City of Warren to be made part of the record by reference, and finally the package shown as ADM 94 on the agenda to be made part of the record by reference.
Thank you, Neil. Same thing, anyone who would like to speak to that, come forward. Okay, seeing no one coming forward, we'll move on and officially open the meeting tonight. Oh, we got to close the public hearing first, I'm sorry. Okay, we'll open the meeting next, and if you'd stand, we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which one nation, God, indivisible, with liberty.
Item number 3, introduction of new employees.
Those will both be mine. I've got the first to introduce will be Mr. Timothy Burks, who just started as a new officer. He'll be assigned to ordinance enforcement when he's done with his field training.
Welcome.
And the second will be our newest records clerk, Shelley Ramsauer.
Welcome,
Shelley.
Okay, item 4, the consent agenda, we'll have later on in the meeting. Oh, I'm sorry. We need a motion to accept the consent agenda items.
This will be for your regular meeting minutes from April 16th, 2019, the executive session minutes from April 16th, 2019, the milling and paving bid, and the wastewater treatment plant orbital control upgrade bid.
Motion, we approve the consent agenda items.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Ock, seconded by Alderman Shell Harvey. Call vote.
Alderman Delloy,
Yes.
Alderman Schultz,
Abstain.
Alderman Shell Harvey,
Yes.
Alderman Dyer,
Yes.
Alderman Ock,
Yes.
Alderman Miller.
Yes. Carries 5-0 with one abstention.
There's five. There's five. But he gets the vote. It's fine.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't hear him. Okay, I didn't hear him voting.
Okay, we have a hearing from the public. Nobody coming forward. Board of Alderman comments? Anybody got any comments?
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, I was going to say, my comment had to do with the cleanup day. I thought that was, having sat in line for about 2 hours on 2 different occasions, I think the response was extremely well done. And next time I think I'm just going to rent a 2-minute truck vehicle and bring it up on one trip. I saw somebody did that, so it was well received. And I know the employees were out in the rain the whole time, so thank them for that service.
I do have one question now that you brought up the cleanup day, and this came from one of the residents. He noticed all the TVs and everything up there, and he said, when I took my TV to the South 47, it cost him like $40 to for them to take it. Do we, wherever we take ours, do we have to pay money for them to take those?
Tickets at EPC over in Wright City, and
Oh,
we pay
okay.
$15.
So that's well, that's good then, because that's recycling. Then. That's okay. I have one comment I wanted to. I was at the planning and zoning meeting the other night, and it's the first one I'd been to in a while. But I would just like to say, if you haven't been to one, maybe we don't give the P&Z board enough credit on a lot of the work they do, but and I think Neil he'll vouch for it too. They do a really good job. They ask some really good questions on all the issues, and even was the Board of Adjustment. They had one issue that I guess they hadn't had anything in a couple years really that had come before them, but so I think if you see any of the people on the P&Z, be sure and thank them and for doing such a good job, because it's not easy. Definitely not as easy as it looks.
I thought Rich Barton said he's been doing it for 25 years during the meeting. He mentioned he's been there that long.
I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah, that's what
I
he
knew
said in the meeting.
But he runs a good meeting too. So, all I have.
My comment was about Saturday. I attended the Battle of the Badges for Special Olympics. I know I'm going to miss some people here, but Officer Kevin Swafford, I think, had the most majority of putting that together, and it was a very well put together event, and I'm glad he did that. We had a pretty good turnout. It was a fun game, too. Thank you.
Alderman Schultz, were you not the top scorer for that?
I don't believe I was.
No, you're...
Give the fire department credit for losing gracefully.
They did. Good time.
Yeah, everybody had a good time. I think it was good. Okay, next item under mayor's comments. He'd like to appoint Laura Zimmer to the park board to fill the unexpired term of Cheryl Dyer. Accept a motion to do that.
So moved.
Second.
Alderman Schultz, seconded by Alderman Shell Harvey. Roll call vote.
Alderman Schultz,
Yes.
Alderman Shell Harvey,
Yes.
Alderman Dyer,
Yes.
Alderman Ock,
Yes.
Alderman Miller,
Yes.
Alderman Delloy.
Yes.
Okay, the next item on our agenda is Terry Thorne, City Administrator.
My first item for you this evening is to ask if the city again wants to participate in the sales tax holiday, the back-to-school sales tax holiday we've participated in for many years. Unless we choose to opt out, we will automatically be included in that. Those dates this year are August 7th through 9th.
Comments?
I think we move on and just keep doing what we're doing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good enough. My next item for you this evening is to discuss the ordinance that's on for later this evening, which will put in place inspections at the change of occupancy for all residential structures within the city. We've been working on this project for a few months now. Staff has done an incredible job of getting everything put together. That will be effective on August 1st. The building department will begin performing those inspections. This includes both residential properties that are rentals as well as owner-occupied properties whenever a change in occupancy occurs. It's a fairly simple process. I think as the information gets out there, everyone will see that the things that are included are very basic health and safety issues. There's nothing extravagant. Most cities have lists that are much more stringent than the list that we've put together, but our hope is to start and make sure that all occupants within the city are living in a safe environment. The checklist will be used, has been developed, that will be used while the inspector is at the property. That will be distributed around May 15th along with a full packet of information to every address within the city so that everyone can be aware of what those requirements are and how it's being put together. I would encourage anyone who has questions to come to a town hall meeting here at City Hall. That's scheduled for June 10th at 6 p.m. It'll be a time when you can get any questions that you have answered, be able to interact with city staff and the board, and make sure that you're fully aware of what all those requirements are. But a full packet will go out which will include not only the inspection checklist, but questions and answers along with detailed information on all of those items. And that should be out sometime around May 15th. And there's an ordinance later this evening.
June 10th was at 6 p.m.?
Yes, here at City Hall. There will be yard signs. I think Brandy's having yard signs made that will be out and about to remind people as well of that opportunity. All right. That's all I have for you this evening.
Thank you, Terry.
Thank you.
Next item on our list is Brandy Walters.
I have tonight for you our monthly administration report. And speaking of special events, we had the Easter egg hunt last month, and we had approximately about 200 kids show up to that up at Binkley Woods. Seems like that was a great turnout. And then the second thing was our city cleanup that we had on Saturday. We had 263 cars come through during that time. We took in 429 tires and 244 electronic monitors or TVs, whichever one. And then I don't have the full count on the metal, but we did take in a full trailer of metal, like a semi-trailer of scrap metal, along with 3 dump truck loads. And then we had a garbage truck and 6 30-yard roll-offs of trash.
Very successful.
A successful event. And that's all that I have for you.
Thank you, Brandy. Next next item will be our finance manager, Dana Belatsky.
Before you is a list of claims for your approval totaling $308,418.15. Questions related?
What were those numbers again? 308,000?
308,418.15.
Yeah.
Second.
Second.
Mike did.
Alderman Schultz, seconded by Alderman Shell Harvey. Roll call vote.
Alderman Shell Harvey,
Yes.
Alderman Dyer,
Yes.
Alderman Ock,
Yes.
Alderman Miller,
Yes.
Alderman Delloy,
Yes.
Alderman Schultz.
Yes.
Carried, okay, next item on the agenda is Neil Fick, Director of Planning and Development.
I may interrupt. There was one
Oh.
more item for me.
I'm sorry.
No,
I'm
no,
sorry.
that's fine. The financials, so year-to-date financials as of March are included in your packet. So just a few highlights from those financials. You'll see that the general fund revenue is slightly below budget, about 20,000. That's made up of a couple of things. Sales tax, again, slightly below. We expect to come in by year end, maybe 5,000 below the budgeted number for sales tax. You'll also notice that the pool operation is below budget, currently about 122,000 below what we anticipate. Franchise fees, though, are above budget, about 42,000, and police fines above budget, about 82,000. General fund operating expenditures, 465,000 below budget, of which about 250,000 are related to staff levels, wage-related accounts. So it would be things like vacancies and things like that have seen a reduction in expense in those areas. Then we also have some various maintenance and supply type accounts that are currently just a little below budget, but we expect those to be spent by year end. You'll notice that capital, again, is below budget, but those projects will either be spent by year end or carried over to the next year. General fund. In the water and sewer fund, revenues are about 145,000 above budget, of which about 82,000 of that is related to interest earnings at larger project fund that's still being engineered. You'll also notice that water and sewer and connection fees, the water usage, sewer usage, and connection fees are up. Residential housing. Operating expenditures in the water sewer fund, 236 below budget, 236,000, of which about 86,000 is personnel. The balance, again, more maintenance and supply that will be spent by year end. In the capital sales tax fund, sales tax revenue is down by about 15,000, but interest earnings are up by 16. Final payment to the pool contractor occurred in April, so we're about ready to close out things on that project very soon now. Any questions regarding the financials?
Well, I did have a couple comments, on almost $4 million through 9 months to be off 20,000 on the revenue budget is quite commendable. It's less than 0.5%. That's a great number. Think there was, the other thing that was interesting to me is, as you see growth in the city, be it homes, you look at the two areas you mentioned, your revenue from franchise fees is 42,000 over, and your revenue from connection fees is 30,000 over, and those are directly related to the growth we see in the city. So I think that, though that growth does reflect directly on city finances and city operations, and I think that's great to see.
Okay, we'll accept a motion to accept the finance report.
So moved.
Second. Yeah, I think we can.
Okay, the next item, we'll go down to number 14. And we'll start with the bills to ordinance.
13.
Oh, I'm sorry. Neil, go ahead.
Right.
Sorry.
We have an approval request for the Warrenton Junior Warriors Football Association Cornhole Tournament on 4/18 or 4/8/19. Taryn Morris supplied. They submitted all the permit applications. We notified the adjacent property owners, and they've had this tournament multiple times. We haven't had any issues as far as a cornhole tournament. So the Planning and Zoning Commission, they passed it 7-0 with 3 absent on May 2nd. So we recommend that we approve.
So moved.
Second.
By Alderman Hawk, seconded by Alderman Dyer.
Alderman Dyer?
Yes.
Alderman Ock?
Yes.
Alderman Miller?
Yes.
Alderman Deloy,
Yes.
Alderman Schnoltz?
Yes.
Alderman Shell Harvey?
Yes. We had a representative here that wanted to speak. No, she was just. I want to put you on the spot.
She spoke enough at planning and zoning, I think.
Yeah.
She didn't want to.
Okay, now we'll move down to.
Well, I have, okay.
I'm sorry, I thought you were through.
So now we're moving on to section 405-195 and 405-215, the medical marijuana facilities.
That is listed in our bills to ordinance coming up.
Yes. So as far as, okay, so we asked for the approval for the 405 and 19, the overlay districts, and the 405-215. So the districts are going to cover the 170 along 170 in the right of way. So 100 feet on as far as the right of way, and also the Main Street overlay district. So it's going to cover 100 feet of the right of way. So that way it covers. So there won't be any signs. There won't be any buildings in that place. So there won't be any medical distribution facilities. There won't be any testing. There won't be anything that is involved with the medical marijuana.
I thought the counselor did other than screwing up about Main Street, I thought the explanation for people just listening is it's a permitted use in Warrenton, but it's not a permitted use on Highway 47, it's not permitted use on the service road, and it's not permitted use on Main Street. And that lays it out pretty well, right?
The 47 is where I think that there's some misunderstanding.
Okay.
Because 70, so it's along 70, so you've got that buffer of 100, but wherever you come off of that, it's the right-of-way off of 70, so it's far back off of 70. And then you have the other zone is Main Street, which starts at 47 and goes down to Elm, and then you have your 100-foot buffer on each side also. So you can still get the other streets off of there, but you just have to have
Right.
your 100-foot distance. The
But you're
buffer
not, but
zone.
they're not gonna be sitting on one of those streets. In other words, it's not gonna be sitting on 47, as I understood.
47 is not included in the buffer zone.
Okay,
Right.
It's I-70 and Main Street.
I-70 Main Street, okay.
And the motion, okay, so there was some discussion questions on, whether there had the opportunity to build in those buffer zones, and state law also says that you can't build those within 1,000 feet. So we're changing it to 100 feet that goes along with our liquor license, the liquor laws. So it's prescription. So, and there was another question as well, as far as, will pharmacies be able to do that? Pharmacies haven't applied to do that, but in order to actually, the dispensaries, they're required to be a certain way, set up a certain way, be secure. A normal pharmacy wouldn't be set up in order to dispense marijuana.
But if a pharmacy were to apply, they would not be sitting in the proper area, is that correct? So let's say if a Walgreens decided to be a medical marijuana dispenser, it's not sitting in the proper zone for that, is that correct?
I don't know if they're within 100 feet of I-70 or not. I'm a horrible judge of
Okay.
distance.
Okay.
But if they're beyond that 100-feet buffer and they
Could.
met all the requirements or were granted a license, there's no reason that they could not.
Yeah, they would just have to meet, like she said, the requirements as far as the dispensary, which there's security issues. Security, which goes above and beyond, and the state has those. That it's still a draft, but it tells you how exactly it needs to be done as far as getting into the doors, locking it up, signage. Everything is explained as far as how it needs to be done right now, but it's as a draft form.
The other thing that people need to realize is that, we're doing this because we've got inquiries. So we have an option under the state law to change it somewhat, but heavily controlled by the state. But we're probably responding to this ahead of time because we are getting inquiries, and the state is really going to control how many facilities are going to be in this area. So it's not like the city opens up an area and then you got 20 or 30 medical marijuana dispensers in town. You wouldn't have that because the state's going to control ultimately how many operations there are.
Right now, they have numbers as to districts, congressional districts, I guess you call them. They were allowed so many. So that, again, like Gary said, it's not going to open it up to where we're going to be inundated with dispensaries. So, in the same way on growing and what was the other thing, Neil, that they had?
There's testing.
There was 4 things that they're talking about, but anyway, it's going to be highly regulated.
Cultivation, dispensary, infused products, and testing facilities.
Testing facility.
And there were no conditions by the Planning and Zoning Commission, and it approved 7-0 with 3 absent on May 2nd. Staff recommends approving the overlay district requirements and standards for medical marijuanas. The approval of the overlay district requirements will assist in coordinating specific development needs where the circumstances are not addressed by the base zoning districts. And the approval of the standards for medical marijuana facilities will better regulate the location and operations of the facilities within the city of Warrenton. On to ADM 95. There's the approval of amendments to section 405050, which is the definitions and interpretation. So we asked for an approval of the amendments to section 405050. It lists all of the medical marijuana facilities, which is the cultivation, the dispensary, the infused product manufacturing facility, and the testing facility. Those definitions are going to be included in that section. There were questions, well, we already discussed pharmacies. If they apply, they would just need to meet the minimum requirements for dispensaries. There were no conditions. The motion for approval passed 7-0 with 3 absent on May 2nd. Staff recommends the approval of Section 405.050, which provides the definitions and interpretation for marijuana facilities in the city of Warrenton. Finally, we've got ADM 94. Approval of the amendments to Appendix A to include medical marijuana dispensaries, cultivation, infusion product, and testing facilities. This is when we were allowing dispensaries to be permitted in RC1, RC2, C2, C3, and C4, and it would require a conditional use to be required in the C1 use. There were some questions on allowing smaller farmers or if they would be allowed. It was explained that larger farming areas would most likely be given the license for growing because of the high demand for the product, and the farms would require higher security and testing. And there were no conditions, and a motion for approval passed 7-0 with 3 absent on May 2nd. Staff recommends approving the amendments to Appendix A, and also medical marijuana cultivation, infusion product, testing facilities to be allowed in M1 with a conditional use permit.
One question, Neil, and I was there and I can't remember which one it was, but the one that set up the hours that they could be open. Which one was that the
I believe
96 or?
That is going to be the standards for medical marijuana facilities. That is going to be the first one, I believe.
Yeah. Again, just to let the residents know, the hours, it's not going to be, a 24-hour facility. It's also going to be set up where, and this has to do with state regulations too, that it's not going to be a gathering place. In other words, they can't come in there and take their medical marijuana. They'll come in and get it and leave. They can't, it's not going to be a gathering area or anything like that. So I just want to let the residents know. I don't know if that was really came out in the P&Z hearing or not. But,
it explains all that. No outdoor use. The storage can't be used outside the hours of operations. They must display their licenses, and you can't have it inside of the residential dwellings. No medical marijuana facility should be located in a building that contains a residence.
Thank you.
Do you have any time frame, Neil, or have heard any time frame when this is all going to come together? And
I believe the licenses are going to be issued in September. I have someone who's already waiting for this so that they could start applying. So yes, I believe September is when they were going to be issuing the licenses.
I think I read this evening there'll be no operations from 10 p.m. to 8 a.m. I think that's the hours that you cannot be operating.
That's what the ordinance says.
Yeah.
There'll be a reading of the bills into ordinance at the end of the meeting. I have nothing.
Thank you. We'll go into item 14, the bills to ordinance. First one is bill number 17-19.
Call for a
Reading.
Make a motion for the first reading of 17-19.
Second.
Bill number number 17-19, an ordinance amending section 500.350, amendments to International Property Maintenance Code of the Municipal Code of the City of Missouri to establish a program for inspection of residential occupied properties.
I have a reading for a second reading of the ordinance.
Call for second
Motion.
reading. Call for second reading.
Second.
Bill number 17-19, an ordinance amending section 500.350, amendments to International Property Maintenance Code of the Municipal Code of the City of Warrenton, Missouri to establish a program for inspection of residential occupied properties.
Roll call vote.
Alderman Ock,
Yes.
Alderman Miller,
Yes.
Alderman Deloy,
Yes.
Alderman Schultz,
Yes.
Alderman Shell Harvey,
Yes.
and Alderman Dyer.
Yes.
Carried 6-0. Okay, the next one we have is bill number 18-19.
Make a motion for the first reading of bill number 18-19.
Second.
Bill number 18-19, an ordinance amending section 705.080, application for a tapping permit of the municipal code of the City of Warrenton, Missouri, relating to inspection permits.
Before we do second reading, can somebody give me up to date on this? Is this here because we're putting new fees in? Or is this here because it wasn't part of the code structure to begin with, or did you explain
No,
that?
it's really strange that the part of the code in the water section that deals with the ability to disconnect usage for any purpose is under tapping permit.
Oh,
And this is adding the ability, if someone should fail to get their inspection permit at change of occupancy and goes past the grace period, the ability to disconnect the water as a result.
So in essence, the pricing there on the tapping isn't,
Is not
it just
changing.
happens to be in the part of the ordinance we need. Okay,
That's
thank you.
correct.
Call for second reading of bill number 18-19.
Second.
Bill number 18-19, an ordinance amending section 705.080, application for a tapping permit of the municipal code of the City of Warrenton, Missouri, relating to inspection permits.
Roll call vote.
Alderman Miller,
Yes.
Alderman Deloy,
Yes.
Alderman Schultz,
Yes.
Alderman Shell Harvey,
Yes.
Alderman Dyer,
Yes.
Alderman Ock.
Yes.
Carried 6-0. Accept a for reading of bill number 19-19.
Call for the first reading of bill number 1919.
Second.
Bill number 19-19, an ordinance approving an agreement for provision of information as to successor utility service between Union Electric Company doing business as Ameren, Missouri, and the City of Warrenton, Missouri.
And the same type of question, this is because an agreement just needs to be updated?
No, this agreement will allow Ameren to provide to the city information related to change of occupants
Okay.
in their utility service at residents within the city.
Okay, great. Call for second reading?
Second.
Okay, second reading and passage. Go ahead.
Bill number 19-19, an ordinance approving an agreement of provision of information as to successor utility service between Union Electric Company doing business as Ameren, Missouri, and the City of Warrenton, Missouri.
Roll call vote.
Alderman Deloy,
Yes.
Alderman Schultz,
Yes.
Alderman Shell Harvey,
Yes.
Alderman Dyer,
Yes.
Alderman Ock,
Yes.
Alderman Miller.
Yes. Carried 6-0.
Call for reading of bill number 20-19.
Second.
Bill number 20-19, an ordinance amending Chapter 405 zoning regulations of the Code of the City of Warrenton, Missouri regarding medical marijuana.
Call for second and final reading of bill number 20-19.
I'll second that motion.
Bill number 20-19, an ordinance amending Chapter 405, zoning regulations of the Code of the City of Warrenton, Missouri regarding medical marijuana.
Roll call vote.
Alderman Schultz,
Yes.
Alderman Shell Harvey,
Yes.
Alderman Dyer,
Yes.
Alderman Ock,
Yes.
Alderman Miller,
Yes.
Alderman Delloy.
Yes.
Carried 6-0.
Call for the first reading of bill number 21-19.
Second.
Bill number 21-19, an ordinance amending Chapter 405, zoning regulations of the Code of the City of Warrenton, Missouri, adding Section 405.195 overlay districts.
Second reading.
Call for the second reading of 21-19.
Second.
Bill number 21-19, an ordinance amending Chapter 405, zoning regulations of the Code of the City of Warrenton, Missouri, adding Section 405.195 overlay districts.
Roll call vote.
Alderman Shell Harvey,
Yes.
Alderman Dyer,
Yes.
Alderman Ock,
Yes.
Alderman Miller,
Yes.
Alderman Delloy,
Yes.
Alderman Schultz.
Yes.
Looks like we are at item 15.
If that's the case, I'll make a motion for adjournment.
Second.